Bit of a different video today. No edits, just raw loom cut. Been a while since I've done something like this, but today's video is not ready yet. The raw file was an hour and a half-ish long, and we spit our videos out pretty quickly. We didn't have enough time to get this one edited by the 2 p.m. post today. So you're going to see this tomorrow, July 4th. Happy Independence Day, saying that a day early. But today, we're going to get into something that I had as a topic of conversation with some of my D7 founders. Before anything, let me just say that this is the mark, apparently, of an entrepreneurial office. Blank whiteboard that I never use, which is a massive waste of money. It's not like it's expensive. Business partner's desk, John, and a bar cabinet that we removed from the library so that we could actually get the setup that we currently have for recording. So anyway, apparently you're supposed to work 10 feet away from thousands of dollars of booze. I don't know if I should say that. Should I keep going, you think? We're invested. John says we're committed. So today we were getting into content as a coach, and specifically one of my clients was asking, number one, how to get your content to actually get viewership and engagement, but number two, how to create convincing content. Meaning we have a belief here at Daily 7 that every single funnel, even our anti-funnel, needs to do three things. It needs to create attention, it needs to convince attention, and it needs to convert attention. Most of you guys, it drives me insane that I use an uppercase A here and not a lowercase a. Most of you guys believe that you need to focus on conversion. This is why everyone's focused on different types of sales training. This is why people are looking at different ways of converting, whether it's sales calls, webinars, GDoc sales, etc. Realistically, conversion doesn't matter as much as everyone makes it out to when you do these first two symptoms right, or these first two sectors, pillars. I should probably know that since this is like our unique mechanism. In short, what you have to do at a core is you have to create attention. You have to convince attention that your way of doing something is better than the way that they're currently doing it, and better than the way that they're seeing and better than the way that they're seeing other people do it. And then you have to convert attention, which is really just making the conversion process a seamless process. Once they have the beliefs through convincing attention, through convincing material, through argumentation, once they have beliefs that are aligned with yours, the next step should be a sequential, let me invest in getting this person's help to help me do X thing, right? So, example given, if you were to think about my anti-funnel, and this is all to get to a basis, again, of how we create good content as coach. If you were to think about my anti-funnel, I create attention, mostly through YouTube. I then try to convince you that you need to be the category leader, and that once you have that, there's an arrow and an inside that. Once you have that, you can then become, or you can then create, I should say, an anti-funnel. I try to show you that this is the way to do it because I try to get into inefficiency, whether that is sales inefficiency, ads, etc. We could talk about churn, low LTV, blah, blah, blah. I get into the inefficient aspects of that. I get into the fact that you have to fight this inefficiency with more team, with more operations, with more ad spend. I get into using kind of a case study, if you will, not my own case study, but case study of Hormozi, Iman, etc., all doing this category leadership kind of aspect. I get into examples of these guys doing exactly what I say is done through an anti-funnel. I get into client social proof, not as often as I should. To be honest with you, I hate getting into client social proof. It's one of the things I need to get better at. I build this argumentation out that makes it, hopefully, if I'm doing a decent job, and I always doubt if I am, but if I'm doing a decent job, then I get into a certain kind of sales argumentation that makes it hard to believe that the anti-funnel is not the thing you need to do. And as soon as you believe that this is the right way to create a coaching company, even an agency, but really we're focused on coaching companies, then you would convert, ideally. And the way I convert is I say, yo, go DM me the word 7 on Instagram at Paul Daly or Paul Daly Business, depending on what channel I'm talking about. And we're going to send you a doc. It's actually this specific doc right here that I'm re-editing, breaking down how D7 works. This doc is and you can send me 7 right now, and you're going to just get a PDF that has this in it. Hopefully you don't do it before I update this. This doc is 8 pages of why I created D7, what we do, how we work, the mechanisms that we install, how we approach it, how we work with you specifically, what you get access to, what it costs, how long you get access for. Like, it covers everything. And then we still, because I want to make it as easy as possible, have a sales call with you. But it's really more of an onboarding call, and that's actually with my COO, John, who's currently on the couch, that is behind me every single time I record a video. So that is my version of anti-funnel. That is what I think everyone needs to be doing. I think that is what everyone needs to be doing in their funnel. Sometimes I talk about it differently. Sometimes I say that you need to educate, attract, and educate, and then invite and such. But in short, every funnel, no matter what kind of funnel mechanism you want to get into, it always does these three things. It always really gets into AIDA, what is it? Attention. I got to boiler room this. Do I have your attention? Interest. Are you interested? D, have you made a decision for Christ's sake? And then A, action. Boiler room, good old time. So AIDA, realistically, when it comes down to it, create A, convince, ID, and then convert is A. A lot of people would put their D, their decision process, in the conversion process. I think that's the wrong way of doing it. That's why so many of your sales numbers are weak. All to say, this is my anti-funnel, and the things that I want to talk about. This is kind of like what I'm talking about consistently, and then who I'm talking to is the core of how I create good content. So I think a little bit of understanding on this. If I actually went up here to, I'm glad that this was on page 1, because this is all to say. Wow, John, throughout this entire video, there have been so many times where I just thought I should stop, but we're just going to keep rolling it, guys. This is the background of it, right? So I want to kind of show you the first page of this, because this is actually valuable as to why I'm creating content for you if you're watching this YouTube video. In short, I was working with much larger coaching companies. I was working with companies that were doing $250,000 a month on average, all the way to $2.5 million a month, and I love it. I still do love it. One of my clients, August, I'm actually texting former clients, I should say, right now. He is debating moving to Miami, and we're talking about his move to Miami. August does $600,000 a month. I love working with higher level coaching companies, but that TAM, the actual addressable market of that, is incredibly tiny. There's just not a lot of companies in the coaching space, and you could even add agencies and it doesn't get much larger, that are doing $3 million a year. So I knew that I needed to get into working with people, working with coaches that were still, I call them more, infant, but earlier on in their coaching venture, which means I need to work with coaches that are sub $100,000 a month. Specifically, what I'm really finding is that there's a large appropriate TAM that I can address at $20,000 to $50,000 a month. If you're in that, the reason that I know I'm talking to you is because of everything here. This is why I created D7. It's also why I created this business page. And when I get into creating good content, I know who I'm talking to. I know that I want to be talking to coaches, consultants, e-learning companies, courses, course creators, sellers, etc., course creators. I use all these terms. I normally use coaches and consultants, but because some of you guys would refer to yourselves as, example given, a course creator but not a coach, or a consultant but not a coach, or an e-learning company, not a coach, etc. It depends on kind of who you've followed in the space of coaching and how you've grown as to what you're going to refer to yourself as. But I know I'm talking to someone who's going to sell expert-based material. That's not something you would normally see on my YouTube. Look at that little thumbs up right there. I know I'm really going to be working with people. We're talking to people who on average are 20, 30 years old, because of the following demographic that I have on social media. It's not like I picked this, but it's just something that naturally happens. I'm almost always going to be working with males. Totally cool. I am very forward with the fact that I am Christian. Now, D7 is and of course my content, how do I word this? The way that I word this down below, actually I'll just even show you to get further into this, is that I don't work with anyone that's younger than 21. I don't work with anyone that's any kind of sinful or in a sinful industry such as Forex, which I think is always a scam, adult content, meaning OnlyFans management almost all the time, crypto, etc. But I also, removed apparently my entire highlighted section. How do you show a GDoc history? What's supposed to be here is this. That's cool. I also want to clarify that, and to set expectation, I'm very forward about being Christian and building a business that models Christian values. If you're agnostic, atheist, Muslim, or in any way not a believer of Christ, you are welcome, but attitude toward sharing the gospel in D7 will not change. Meaning, part of D7 is that we have a Bible study every week. Every Friday at 10 a.m. there's a Bible study. And I don't want to change that for the people that I work with. But I also don't want to just work with Christians because I want to share and evangelize and grow the kingdom of God. So all to say that Christian content or Christian creators or Christian coaches tend to be the people that I work with. The majority of D7 is Christian. I don't market it that way, but it's kind of who I'm talking to. And because I'm talking to that, my top of funnel tends to be that, right? I can keep going and going and going on this. Example given. I could get into the fact that I'm switching to focusing more on B2C coaches, but I have plenty of B2B coaches inside of my program. I could get into the fact that realistically, they are, if I don't have it here already, 25 to 50K a month on average. Can I help you if you're at 70? Of course. Can I help you if you're at 700? Yes, I've done both many, many, many times. It tends to lean more toward the mastermind, which I'm not actively creating content for and I'm not actively pressing. The reason I'm saying all this is I know exactly who I'm talking to. And because I know exactly who I'm talking to, I can do the very first thing needed to create good content, which is I can talk about the pain points that person would have. So if you're watching a lot of these videos, what you're going to see is that I'm talking about low show rates. I'm talking about low close rates. I'm not even getting into, example given, I'm not getting into statistics that this demographic wouldn't even know about their own businesses, like time to offer. Most of you guys don't track how long it takes to get to the point where you're offering somebody after they get involved on your first call. If they have a 2-call process, setter to closer, triage to closer, if it's just a 60-minute, how long does it normally take? How much time are you spending with someone before you can actually get an offer in front of them? A lot of guys don't track that. That's a big scaling KPI. I don't talk about it because it would be something that is non-applicable to you guys, the demographic that I'm talking to on this channel. I talk about low share rates, which you guys deal with. Side note, there is no company that I've personally worked with doing $1 million a month, 500 grand a month, et cetera, that has low show rates. They don't. So when I talk about low show rates, I'm actually rejecting or pushing away a lot of people who would be mastermind clients for me because that's just not the market I'm going for. The very first thing you have to be willing to do if you want to make great content as a coach is you have to be willing to push away people that could also pay you money, which a lot of people are not willing to do. Everyone's trying to make money with everyone. You can't do it that way. You have to make money with someone, right? If you're trying to be everything to everybody, you're going to be quickly forgotten about. A really good way to word this is we need to create content for such a specific person. This is where I get into category leadership. You need to create a category that you own that people want to subscribe to. And when they subscribe to that category, if you stopped creating content about it, they would miss you. They would ask you when you're going to start creating content on that again. I get people asking me when I'm going to get back into my main channel Christian business content, which I'm going to be doing very soon, which I didn't even realize was something that I started to lead as a category. And that's kind of what started to click this idea for me. If you have low show rates, if you have low close rates, if you have... One second. If you have low show rates, this is where I would do a jump cut. If you have low show rates, if you have low close rates, if you have, what other stuff do I talk about? What else do we get into with KPIs that these guys are struggling with? Say these guys that you would be struggling with. Low show, low close. Let's just go through sales funnel. Low CTR and ads if you're running ads. Probably almost going to always be running follower ads or DM ads. Book a call ads are just getting wildly expensive at this point. If you have low conversion in DMs, if you have low engagement on content, if you have low viewership on content, I could even get into the emotional aspect. I'm not an emotional guy, but I could get into the emotional things of like if you feel like you're shouting out in the crowd, if you feel like you're working your butt off, but you're not getting anywhere with it, if you feel like you keep doing the same thing that everyone tells you to do, if you feel like you're doing the thing that all the gurus in the space, all the coaches in the space that are winning, if you feel like you're doing the thing that they're doing, you're not getting where you want to go, like I could talk about these emotions, but in reality, the pain points that are clear, I just talk about those. And because I'm talking about pain points, the way that I verbiated this to one of the founders of my call earlier, who has a great business. He's doing $40,000, $50-ish a month. I started with me at 18 or 15 or so. And the way I verbiated this with him is that if you went on a street out and about, so I live in a little historic area, and if I went outside and I asked someone random on the street to tell me, if I even told them what I did for a living, and I asked them what my pain points would be, they would not know what my pain points were. The only way to know someone's pain points are to have shared that pain by being in that same situation. And likely, if you're creating content on it as a coach, you probably got to the other side of said situation. So when I create content that has specific pain points, it's almost always easy to see that this guy knows what he's talking about to some degree because he's talking about something about my own situation that only someone who knows my industry would know. And then realistically, when I can even tell them about, this is a kicker, if I can tell them about, this is not a, we'll actually make this point too. I was going to make this a 4 point, but we'll make this a 5 point. I'm going to kind of go through this with you guys and teach myself. After you tell them the pain points that they know they have, wrong italics there, that they know they have, then you tell them the pain points that you know. That actually will say that they don't know they have. Deal? So example given, you could talk about the fact that you can essentially get into they have higher refund and dispute rates because they are bringing in customers that skipped middle funnel. To clarify that point, when you bring in people who are not adequately convinced by the content that you're creating in the middle of your funnel, you are then trying to hard close them on a call. They're normally going to be outcome-centric buyers. This is because, and this is actually point number 2, which we'll get into in a second, it's because you're using outcome-centric guarantees and offers, which just bring in bad clients, and they're going to have higher refund and dispute rates. It's also because they're less bought into you, so they just don't care as much about, to be honest with you, hurting your feelings or not. Another area is that, and you can even get into the fact that, this means that you have higher churn. Because you have higher churn, higher refund, higher dispute rates, you're like, hey, I need a client success manager whose only goal is to make sure that my clients are happy. And then you're like, hey, let me take this random person and try to teach them what I do. Or it could even be a client if you're better at doing this. But at the end of the day, you're trying to solve a problem with a Band-Aid. And that Band-Aid, no matter how good that Band-Aid is not going to solve the problem because you're bringing in people that skipped the entire middle of the funnel. So realistically, you're trying to say like, hey, client success manager, client success coach, whatever you call them, go fix this. But in reality, they can't. Doesn't matter how much your clients like them, you skipped middle of funnel. And then I can get into the fact that if you have these CSMs or 1, 2, 3 CSMs, etc., now you're getting into having to manage team. Your operations gets heavier because now you have to have essentially your entire team communicating with each other, or you have to have your CSM, even if it's just one CSM, you have to have your CSM communicating with you on where your clients are. You have to do daily huddles. Now you have to do client notes. And it's not like it lives in your brain anymore. Now it lives in someone else's brain, and they have to now sync that, and you have to resync it, and you have to make sure that you're doing the same thing together. Otherwise, your clients will fail, right? And so operations becomes heavier. You have, before you know it, what really I could get into is the fact that you are now not building, not creating, but instead you're managing. And that's actually dangerous because managing feels productive, but it's really not, right? And so I could get into the other areas that you don't recognize you have as pain points. I could get into the fact that you have lower success rates with your students as a coach because of the fact that you're skipping middle funnel, because they're not low resistance customers, meaning realistically when people buy into your middle funnel, they're buying into the beliefs that you have, which means that they're going to be open to implementing the things that you tell them. When people buy into guarantees, they normally want to get, or offers, outcome-centric offers, they want to get there in the way that they want to get there, right? So this is a massive tension in business. Tension might not be the right word, but when you are trying to hit a goal, what normally happens is you have a certain method of which you want to do that, right? And so realistically, if you want to get to, call it $100,000 a month, there's some kind of methodology right now that you have watching this video, if you're a coach, of how you want to hit $100,000 a month. And if I said, as my guaranteed outcome-driven offer, that I'm going to help you get to $100,000 a month, what's going to happen is you're going to come in and you're going to want to use your methodology to get to $100,000 a month in the offer that I said I'll get you to $100,000 a month with, right? Which means when I tell you to do something different, now you're going to have resistance to the thing that I'm telling you to do because you want to do it your way. Versus when you go through my middle of funnel content and you start to adapt the beliefs that I have, you start to trust me more. When I tell you to do something, even if it was, number one, the things that you want to do start to change to the things that I'm telling you in my content that you should be doing. So you actually don't even have opposing beliefs normally by the time you get to D7. But even if you did, you trust me more, so you're less resistant to implementing the things that I tell you to do. I can actually, there's a client of mine, he's a good guy if you want to see if I know what I'm talking about. And if you want to learn about what it's like to work with me further, you can ask him. I'm sure he would be happy to chat. His name is KJ Rainey.
This video could...
Very good friend of mine. He's coming up for a cigar soon. He was actually here at a last workshop in Maryland a couple months ago. And KJ and I were talking about, wow, this is the downside of not having a script. I forget what I was what was I just getting into?
You and KJ were talking about what you and KJ were talking about.
Well, yeah, what were we talking about? What was I talking about right before KJ?
On a call yesterday that you guys had.
Oh, no. This is bad. This is bad. This is not what YouTube needs to see, Mr. John.
Pause it.
Oh, we can pause it. I'm not going to pause. No, I can't pause it because I have my Loom controls off. Wow. This is an awkward one. I'm going to skip this for a second and essentially get it. Yeah, I just had a one-on-one with KJ yesterday, so I should know whatever I was going to get into. This is my bad, guys. This is what happens when. Anyway, so realistic. Oh, there we go. Here, back to action. Thank you, God, for giving me the insight again. I have a client, KJ, who came in through a referral, but he didn't come in through my content. So when KJ actually started working with me, he knew very little about who I was. He watched my If You're in Business and Believe in God, watch this video. Other than that, he's never seen anything from me. KJ, who's done incredibly well with me, who is a good friend of mine at this point, he is probably the client that I have out of all clients that's most resistant to the feedback that I have because he didn't go through my middle of funnel content. So as someone who literally is a great client of mine, for most people, he'd be a dream client. He's not I was going to say my worst client by any means. He's my most resistant client because he didn't go through my middle funnel. That's how important it is. And because he didn't go through my middle funnel, he has more resistance, etc. And if you have clients with more resistance, and the thing you do, it normally hasn't ended up this way with KJ, but it normally leads to lower success rates. Lower success rates means that you have lower ability to increase lifetime value through cross-sells or upsells. It means that you have less ability to create case studies for your marketing. It means that you have less word of mouth, referrals, etc. There's so many different things that come from the fact that you are not running a proper anti-funnel, right? Or that you're not, and then we can get into PBS and everything that I talk about here. One of the things that I think about is there's so many aspects to this that I was even on a walk today. I took a walk before I sat down to a side note. If I even just tilted my monitor, you would see that the lights are on and everything for the video that I have to record right after this, which is going to go live on Monday. So this goes live in like 10 minutes, ideally. And then the video that was supposed to go live today goes live tomorrow, and then the video that goes live that I recorded today will be going live, I should say, on Monday. And so I didn't know I was going to record this video, but I was going to record the next one in a second, and I went for a walk prior to just to clear my head, kind of move the heart a little bit. And what I was thinking about is the Steve Jobs line, which has been on my brain a lot, about simplicity being the ultimate form of sophistication. One of the things that I still have to get better at, and if you're watching this content, thank you for being patient with me on it, I have to get better at putting all these different ideas into one very simple concept. And I know once I get to that simple concept, people are going to look at it and be like, wow, this was easy to come up with. There's a line in the movie or TV show Succession. They're talking about how the dad who built the massive empire, how it was super easy and how anyone could have done it, and how it was a very obvious idea. And then he said, well, if it's so obvious, then why didn't anyone else effing do it, right? And the whole thought about this is like when you can take things that are very complex in your brain and you can turn them into simple ideas, that's the ultimate form of sophistication. And it looks simple, but to make something look simple is incredibly challenging. And I appreciate that you guys are taking time to work with me as I go through that. I've been writing a lot, which is helping me flesh out the ideas more, but I still got more to go. So pain points that they know they have, pain points that they don't know they have. This is actually what builds authority. After that, then you want to get into what I call the solution. And we can get into different ways of breaking this down, but realistically, I would get into introducing the mechanism here, your unique mechanism. I want to keep this all on one page if possible. So solution or mechanism. I have a rule as a content creator for this channel that every single thing I create, I want you guys to have actionables coming into the video. I want you to feel like coming out of the video. Coming into the video, I want you to be curious on what the pain is or the problem is that I'm talking about. I want you to then identify with the pain. I want you to then be like, okay, this guy does know something about it because he's pointing out things in my business that, you know what, now that I think about it, I do have. And then when I give you a solution, I don't want to tell you to, you have to come work with me at D7. I actually want to give you something that you can take and run with and find success with, because once you find success with 1 or 2 or 3 things that I've told you to do, then when I tell you to do something as you work with me or when you work with me, and you'll probably want to work with me after I give you 3 successful, actionables, then when I tell you to do something, you're probably going to do it because the first 3 times that you did something that I told you to do, they worked out for you. And so I have a value-first model, which is what Hormozi also kind of preaches. And so realistically, I want to give people valuable takeaways. I think the main thing to know here is that I am doing it from a selfish perspective of, I want realistically people to come work with me inside of D7. But I also am very careful not to give away too much value. And I know that sounds bad, but the reason for it, there's a lot of people who are going to say, give away your best stuff because it builds trust, et cetera. But there's a lot of also smart people who will say that you don't want to build a pattern with people that they get everything that you know for free. And so realistically, I've constantly played with this line of tension, and I'm not going to tell you that I have the answer right now of, do I give everything away for free, and then do I just, is D7 for the implementation? I actually was telling my clients today inside of D7 that as I start to create content for D7 founders, I will probably just put it on this channel anyway, because they're not there for the content. No one ever has come into D7 for the content. They're there for their implementation so that they can ask me questions, so that I can look at their stuff. I review their stuff. That's what D7 is for, right? It's not for videos that teach you how to do something. It's not a courseware kind of program. It's an incubator. And so because of that, the reason I'm saying all this to you is I have yet to decide, how much of my stuff I make public. But what I do know is that I make enough public to where you have actionables that you can take after you watch every single video. In that being said, every video has a, watch this, correlates value to Paul message. Meaning I'm not going to tell you how to propose a solution, because for every single one of you, there's example given, if you're fitness coaches, I guess I will tell you how to propose solutions. If you're a fitness coach that is telling someone to use the carnivore diet, example given, or that's one of the mechanisms you use inside of your program, then what you could do is you could tell them how to properly start eating carnivore today by making sure that they get enough fat to protein, give them the fat to protein kind of ratio that they need, give them a diet that they could use this week that would allow them to do that. Or something, just like okay, now I have something I can run with right away, right? If you were a golf coach and you're talking about in a video, golf has been top of mind. I really need to hit the range, but I haven't had time to get out there because I've been in what I call a blitzkrieg sprint right now. I have not taken any time outside of office or working out. A lot of apparently tangents in this video. My apologies. This is why I've been using the fancy DSLR and jump cuts so that Ollie, because this is what every video is like. I just talk and ramble and everything like that. Normally I try to use a script now so that, in front of you guys on this channel at least, so that I can keep things a little more aligned. If you guys appreciate this kind of content, then I'll do more of it. I really don't care how I present content to you, as long as you guys appreciate it, consume from it, learn from it, etc., engage with it. I'll just say that if you're a golf coach and you're talking about how to, this is something that I'm actually using in the next video. I'm going to give you a little peek at the Monday video that I'm about to record. But if you're a golf coach and you are helping people, where is it? Again, the fact that if you're a golf coach and you're helping people around the greens take 5 strokes off, then you would want to work around the bunkers, and you'd want to work around the fringe and maybe the light rough and such. And what you would get into is telling people maybe a new hand grip that they could use, or maybe a new mental cue that they could use for their hands, or maybe you could tell people like, hey, right now, go get a golf club. You don't even have to go to a course, and just do this exercise. Whatever it is, there's something they could take right away to get a better feel for it, to get a better understanding of it, etc. Right? I want people, when I create content, to have something that they take from the video right away as like a new idea, a new actionable, new something. And it could be a new thought or a challenging thought that they walk away with, which, to be honest with you, is the best thing to do, but it's the longest burn cycle. Meaning, realistically, if I give people thoughts to take away, then they have to think about it. They have to act on that thought. They almost have to think about it, apply it to their business, understand maybe how to change in their business, eventually come to a change. And usually bigger thinking things like that take longer for them to actually see fruition. And so it just takes a long time for that to actually show them the value from that thought. Sometimes they don't even tie that thought back. Eventually, by the time you get there, they don't even tie the thought back to you. And so while that is the best thing to do, which is what I do on my main channel, if you go to Paul Daly, at Paul Daly instead of, or at Paul J Daly, I need to get the at Paul Daly domain for YouTube. That is the best thing you can probably do for long-term growth, but for short-term, and when I say short-term, I mean to condense the buying window. You want to give people actionables that they can walk away from the video with right away. So once you have and if you don't understand unique mechanisms and such, that's for another video, just because I need to record this other video and I don't want to fry myself out. Once you have the solution done and you have a unique mechanism that you're really telling them to use, and the reason we need a unique mechanism, by the way, is because when you create a category, and this is all, again, stemming from the fact that you know who you're talking to, and you should be talking to someone who's very, very specific, because this is now your category. You want to make sure that you want to subcategorize down so much so, to go back to the beginning of this, you want to subcategorize down so much so that no one is creating content for that specific model of person other than you. And then when you start doing that and you start talking about their pain and pains they don't know they have, and then you start to give them a different type of mechanism to approach it with, they'll start to tie that mechanism to your name, number one. They'll start to think about that mechanism more often. And then realistically, the last thing that you do to bring this all home, it's okay that you actually have this on a different page, Paul, is you bring in volume. Volume is number 4. This is what I talked about in a recent video of mine where I talked about the laws of motion. I said force equals mass times acceleration. Another way to look at it is force equals volume of content times argumentation. Like I said, you can also think about it as if you're doing multi-channel distribution, it's distribution times volume times argumentation. All to say, when I first started my YouTube journey like a year ago, did not have the best argumentation, but I had an immense amount of volume compared to most other creators. Because I had some success growing a YouTube channel. Now, doing the exact same thing, my argumentation for this channel is still not the best, but it's getting better, I would hope. But my argumentation is not the best. That said, my volume is what I'm focusing on. I can control my volume. Here's a good way to look at it if you're a coach trying to get better at content. Volume is not a skill set. Argumentation is. So realistically, you have to work on argumentation. You have to get better at that. And even if you're good at it, like I would say that I'm a very good argumenter in the fact that if I need to help someone come up with argumentation for an offer, I'm very good at it. It's normally the fact for this currently that I'm coming up with a whole new attempt at trying to make this simple, which is what I'm working at, which is why I'm saying that our argumentation is not where I want it to be yet. So this is a skill that I'm working at toward this specific offer, specific company, but the volume aspect is a discipline. That's why I'm creating this video right now. Even though it looks stupid in it because I am stuttering, I am forgetting my words, I'm forgetting what I'm talking about, etc. A lot of people want to post this video, but in reality, I just need the volume. I just need to get the constant posts out. And that's for a few reasons. Number one is I'm training the YouTube algorithm that I'm being consistent. Number two is I'm training the YouTube algorithm to put my content in front of coaches. Number three is that the more I'm in front of you, even if you don't click on my video and you just see a random thumbnail, you're seeing my name. The more you see my name, the more you think about the things that I have. I tell people all the time, short form content without long form content, really, really dumb game to play, because the benefit to short form is when someone sees your face, but they've consumed your long form. So all the ideas, all the beliefs that they've seen you have in long form content, now they see or think about every time they see a short from you, or every time they see an email, or every time they see a text. But if they haven't seen long form content, your middle funnel, MOF content, if they haven't seen your convincing content, then they just see shorts and they're shallow. They don't do anything. And so realistically, that's why we can get into distribution, for example, given, but volume is important. I want to put a massive amount of volume into this channel to grow it as quickly as possible, to rebrand myself as someone who works with Christian business coaches for the most part. And I'm saying Christian in there because realistically, I think that's going to be a majority of who I want to end up working with. But again, if you're not Christian, you're more than welcome to look at D7 and see if it's for you. And you're always welcome as a non-Christian to be a part of it should you fit the criteria. The main note here is that everything here is a skill set except for volume. But for some reason, volume is the one thing that most coaches when creating content don't do. There's a really good guy, another YouTube channel. This is not a client of mine, but he is very talented. This guy's That's probably going to bring up the Golf Callaway. This guy. Oh, okay. That K is actually massive for search-based stuff. This guy's very good with creating content. And do you want to know what he says? He says that if you want to create content, you want to get a channel that does well, you want to blow up a channel, there's something you should do, and it's post every day. You want to know what I'm telling you to do? I'm telling you to create a ton of volume. And how am I doing it? I am posting every day. I started doing that a year and a half ago, and I stopped for a bit because I burned out. All to say, volume is something that as a coach, if you're creating content, a lot of people will do volume for short form. You're just not going to get a lot of result from that, guys. And very few people I know do well with short form content as their main attribute towards success. I'll put it that way. You work toward the skill set of argumentation. To be honest with you, this is realistically what I work with a majority of people on. I can't get you to do volume. I'm just telling you, even if you're not watching this, if there's one thing you take away from this video, a good actionable today would be that you just start creating volume. And through volume actually comes better argumentation, because you start to see what works and you start to see what doesn't work. You start to see the confusions that your prospects are having, that your viewers are having, etc. But this is something that is easy to, this is essentially like go to the gym every day, but get better at understanding how to move your body. In the same kind of way with content, it's post every day, get better at understanding. And this is also why we don't get better at, to finish out my thought, go to the post every day, but get better at understanding how to communicate, how to speak to the pain, how to hook people in, how to retain, etc. Type packaging, titles, CTR, blah, blah, blah. So this is the process of how to create better content as a coach. I don't know where to go with this video from here on. You think there's anything else I get into? No? I'll say it again. If you want to see what it's like to work with me, DM me 7 on Instagram at pauldaly, at pauldaly.business. We just signed up for a book a call feature. I'm just going to send you a full doc, like I said earlier, on how we work with people. And if you, after you read the doc, want to work with us, then we'll schedule a call to see if you're a good fit, where you can ask us questions, and then we'll vet you and ask you questions. That's today's video. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And then on Monday, you'll see me in the exact same outfit. Don't judge. Love you guys much. See you soon.